We're now going to hear from Phil Calvert, financial services marketing expert, as he presents a fantastic new lead generation tool for all those advisors working in the equity release market, as he presents the marketing scorecard.
Thanks, Stuart. So for the next few minutes, let's have a look at one or two things that we could be doing for 2023 and potentially beyond, given the change in market conditions. Really, we want to help you to build that confidence to still be able to find new clients, new prospects, to be able to actually reach out and find them, to engage with them, and then actually convert them into real business for you. It's really important to remember, and this happens time and time again, when markets start getting a bit more challenging, often marketing is one of the first things that businesses decide to let go. And time again, that's been seen as really not a good approach to take. So one thing I would really urge you to do is not give up on marketing, but actually to double down on it. But before you do that, to really sort of sit back, stop and think about what you want to achieve, and to literally plan your marketing objectives. Very often people have a sort of vague idea at the back of their mind that they just want to get some more clients, but really you should be a little bit more formal about this and to decide, what do I want to achieve? How many new prospects do I want to find? How many do I actually want to convert into business? So spend some time just to think about it, not get into panic mode or anything like that, but just to stop and think, decide on your marketing objectives, and then adapt and plan so that you can move on clearly. Now, what I'm not going to suggest is that you take this approach. Really, this idea that we should be posting content and marketing absolutely everywhere all of the time really isn't an option. It's inefficient and will do nothing more but than exhaust you. So let's not think that we've really got to, when we're doubling down on our marketing, we're not just deciding to spray and pray and hope that something will come our way. So what I want to look at is, given the new marketplace, given how things are evolving and changing, let's look at some essentials that we really need to get in place. First of all, in any business, it's really important that we're visible where our target markets are hanging out. I know that sounds obvious, but too many people take the spray and pray approach in the hope that that's going to work, and it simply won't. So be visible where your targets are. Try to create real curiosity in what you do, and one of the best ways to do that is to educate consumers. The whole later life marketing market, the equity release market, it's still for some people uncharted territory. Maybe it comes with a little bit of baggage from the past, so really education is a key thing to be differentiating yourself with. I also would like you to think about making your website work much harder, and we're going to talk more about this as we go, and to think much more about how you can personalize the communications that you send to particular prospects. So these are the key essentials that we want to be thinking about. I'm going to just briefly go through each of those. So first of all, be visible where your targets are, and I think there's a few things that we could be doing. Now, first of all, let's not just put out of the question paid advertising. Facebook is incredibly powerful still. 66% of the population of the UK are on Facebook, and 65 and above is the fastest growing demographic. So prime later life lending market. So don't discount Facebook ads. They're nothing like as expensive as you might imagine they are. But one thing I would say is try and find someone to help you to do it, someone who's done it before. In other words, get an expert. What we want to happen is for every £1 that you spend in your advertising, you're getting £2 to £10 back. Far too often, a lot of financial advisors, they try and do Facebook advertising by themselves, and they spend their £1, but they only get 50p back, and that's not sustainable over the long term. So think about Facebook advertising. So that's the most expensive bit out of the way. Other things you can be doing are remember your local market as well. Your local newspapers, local advertisers, local magazines, local clubs. Radio is fantastic as well. Never discount radio advertising either. There is a perception that radio advertising is going to be really, really expensive, but in actual fact, it's very, very affordable. So approach your local independent radio stations, talk about what budget you might have, and you'll be amazed at what they can come up with. And radio is still incredibly powerful. Don't forget Google My Business. Again, free service, great way to get yourself out there. just go onto Google and search for Google My Business. And if you haven't already got a Google My Business listing, please do that straight away. And don't forget LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is an absolute powerhouse of opportunity. LinkedIn advertising can be quite expensive for what you get, but in actual fact, you don't need to do paid advertising on LinkedIn. The later life lending market, people over the age of 55 are going to be on LinkedIn, and quite a few of them, even if they retire at the age of 65, there's a lot of evidence to show that they hang around on LinkedIn for a few more years after that as well. So local advertising, really powerful. Get in some of those magazines as well. Local clubs are incredibly valuable as well. Think about that target market. Where do they hang out? There's a good chance that someone will be hanging out in perhaps your local tennis club, the local bowling club. And I know one financial advisor down in Cornwall who had a big banner at his local bowling club, and it cost him £340 for 5 years advertising. And that strikes me as pretty good use of your money, particularly as it's aimed at your prime target market. Don't forget also your existing clients. I know most financial advisors, they attract business from their existing clients in terms of referrals and introductions, but I would start to think about putting that whole approach on steroids. Work really, really hard on encouraging your existing clients to recommend you. It's really important you do that, and actually spend some time thinking, well, what can I do to perhaps help educate existing clients in how to recommend you and how to refer you. So there we have some little tips on how to be more visible where your target market is already hanging out. Next, let's talk more about this education piece, because education is so important in personal finance, and it really will help to enhance the perception of your expertise, the perception of your credibility, and indeed your professionalism. So what could you do for education? You could write articles. There's no shortage of material and content that you could write on the later life lending market. You could do case studies, for example, writing blogs, do simple little videos as well. I'm increasingly seeing financial advisors using TikTok. I know that sounds, isn't that a bit aimed at the younger market, but don't discount short, sharp educational videos wherever you want to put them. Podcasting as well. Podcasting is really easy to do these days. For example, there's an app that you can get for your phone called Anchor, as in the ship, and you can literally record a podcast on your mobile phone and just be consistent, get some of this content out there, explain to the world out there, your potential prospects, what is later life lending, what is the equity release market, and help to educate them so that they're much more informed than ever before. Webinars are another option as well, as are seminars, if you have a budget to do some local seminars. Most of the most successful financial advisors around the world use seminars and one-to-many type education to attract their ideal clients. And radio interviews as well. Approach your local radio station and say, look, you're an expert on a market that's really, really valuable, particularly during the cost of living crisis. People be looking for ways to raise money over the longer term. They will very often be interested in talking to an expert like you. When it comes to educational material as well, myth busting is a really good approach to do. So you could do 10 myths around equity release. You could write an article. You could do a little video. Myth busting, case studies. Again, do it on video. Really, really powerful as well. And maybe even think about a weekly introduction to your particular topic. So literally for every single one of your existing clients, still continue to educate them around the whole equity release market and the later life planning market as well. Okay, so moving on, how to make your website work harder for you. Continuing this theme of education, one of the core things you could do with your website is to turn it into an educational hub. Most financial advisors' websites tend to be kind of online brochures, which is fine. They all look very nice, but they do very little to take the visitor by the hand and bring them into your world. So if there's good educational material that you put on there, that will help to do that. It will also help to convert more visitors. When I look at financial advisors' website stats, website figures, one of the things I notice is they're getting reasonable numbers of visitors, but they're not getting anything like enough conversions. So one of the things we need to be thinking about, I'm going to give you an example in a minute or two, is how to convert your existing visitors into conversations that will help you and indeed help them. And finally, we want to look at ways of personalising people's experience. A website for most financial advisors tends to be a one-size-fits-all. Everybody sees the same thing. So I'm going to show you something in a minute which will personalise the experience that each and every website visitor of yours will receive. Other ways to personalise, think about doing audio messages to people. For example, if you're on LinkedIn and you want to send a message to someone, most people just type out a message. You can actually record a bit of audio through the LinkedIn app and send it to them so that you stand out from the crowd. You can do the same thing with video. Think about using video email in your communications as well. That really will make you stand out from the crowd, and it'll help people. It helps to personalize things, which is really, really important. And they can see the whites of your eyes on video. There's all sorts of video email tools that you can use. Go onto Google and search around for them, and you'll find one that'll suit you. And finally, there's no harm in being creative in your marketing as well. Sit back and look at what other financial advisors are doing. See what they're doing that's standing out from the crowd, and maybe thinking about making some of your communications just a little bit more creative. So the next thing I want to talk about is how can we improve the conversion rates? Lots of financial advisors, they are getting new prospects, they are getting new leads, but maybe they're not converting. So we just want to think of a couple of things that we could do. First of all, it's really important to understand what are your current conversion rates from every lead or inquiry that comes into your business. How many of them are actually turning into business? Before we can move forward and know where we can improve, we need to know where we are right now. So think about that from all sources. What's your conversion rate? And also think about what's your conversion rate from inquiries through your website. If you can create real curiosity in your services, particularly through your website, that will also help to increase conversion rates as will having the education hub as well. And finally, what we really need to think about is ways to engage much more deeply with people who visit your website. And curiosity is one thing to do that, and personalized communications is another. And again, I'll be showing you a tool in a second which will help you to do all of this all at one go. It'll help you to be visible where your targets are, to create that curiosity through education. It will make your website work much, much harder and convert many, many more of your visitors. And you will be able to do that personalization piece so everybody sees something that is appropriate to them. Okay, it's called an Equity Release Scorecard. It is an extraordinary tool. It's not a new idea, and I want to show you in just a minute how it works. It's a tool that's proven to engage more of your website visitors. It takes your brochure from becoming just an online brochure into something of real value to your site visitors. It gives them immense value immediately, which has got to be a good thing. It proves your expertise. It helps to build trust in you, your credibility, and your business as well. And at the end of the day, it's a quiz. It's a tool where you ask simple questions which get yes/no answers, and people are literally intrigued by it. So what is a quiz scorecard? Well, it's not a new idea. If I go back to 1988, when I was a broker rep for an insurance company, there was a financial advisor in southwest London who was possibly the most successful financial advisor I've ever met, who used a similar approach to attract really high volumes of clients. He was so successful, he lived next door to Cliff Richard in St George's Hill in Weybridge. And one of the ways he used to attract business was to do presentations to local businesses, to employees and staff of client companies of his. And he had a handout. Well, let me show you his handout. It's as simple as this. Before he did any presentation, he'd give everybody in the audience one of these. As you can see, it's very simple, 5 simple questions that ask about personal finance situation. And he'd do his presentation, he'd collect in these scorecards, everybody put their name and address on them, and then he would take them home and send personalised letters to every single person who'd filled one of these in. And basically he'd pick out the things that people were answering correctly, like, oh, I see you're on top of your savings, well done, keep it going. But he'd also highlight if they were lacking some protection, life assurance or something like that. And whenever he sent one of these to people, they would say to him, let's get this sorted, how can you help me? So this is a very old idea which we're now bringing right up to date. simply ask some simple questions, highlight where people are doing well, highlight where there are gaps, and then offer to help them. It's very, very powerful, and today we can do this online with the digital version. Okay, so an equity release scorecard works something like this. At the end of the day, it is a very, very simple 3-page website, consisting of a homepage or a landing page, whatever you want to call it, then a series of simple yes, no, or multiple choice questions, and then finally a personalized results page. So the prospect arrives, they see the landing page, the curiosity thing gets them going, because at the end of the day, it's a quiz. And the reason why quizzes work is because people love to benchmark themselves against some kind of standard that an expert has set. So we have a series of questions related to people's knowledge of equity release, and indeed whether or not they might actually qualify for it. So they arrive on the landing page, they start the quiz, they get their score and results, and it takes it less than 2 minutes, literally. And the results page is personalized to them. The software behind it creates dynamically created text, and it all uses their name and is highly, highly personalized. What they get is a score, and they get real value immediately. In other words, they've arrived on the website, they've taken this quiz, and they've got instant value relating to their personal situation. So they get insight into their situation, and they also get insight into the financial advisor's value and expertise. The financial advisor gets the contact details of the person who went through the quiz. They also get to see every answer to every question, and that enables them to, just like our friend Mick back in 1988, the financial advisor is then able to personalize how they follow up their quiz answers. So let's have a look at one. And so this is a demonstration version. And what we're going to do is take a look how it works. And it consists of a homepage, as you can see, and at the top we've got the financial advisor's logo. This is a fictitious one that I've made up. So it would have your logo up here. It would use your colors from your website, so it looks and feels pretty much exactly the same as your own website. And then there's a sort of introductory piece here that says something along the lines of, are you ready to live a more fulfilled retirement? Or it could say something like, do you still have dreams that you're yet to live? Something that you think works for them. And a little bit of information here. Find out if an equity release mortgage could be the right way to help finance your retirement. Take our quick quiz and get your personalized report in the next 5 minutes. So it takes 2 minutes. It's completely free for them to do. The results are instant, and they're tailored to the individual. And they can start the quiz straight away if they want to. And it says here, start here. It's free. No financial information is needed, so that will reassure some people. And then scrolling down a little bit further, we can have a little bit of information about you, the financial advisor. We can have your photo, your team, your logo, whatever you want to have on here. And then just a little bit more information just to encourage them to get started. Right at the bottom, your copyright details, a link to your privacy information, and any regulatory information that you need to have on there. So let's click the button and take the quiz and see how it works. So what we do is enter the name and email address. The phone number is optional, though in my experience, most people actually are quite happy to put their phone numbers in there, which is fantastic. Then we have our GDPR opt-in, and you can have any wording that is appropriate to you. But here's the one that we're using for now, and we click on that to opt in. There's a link to your privacy policy there as well. No one ever clicks on it, but it's there for comfort and professionalism. And we click start. Now what we're going to see now is the series of questions, and I'm just going to go through them pretty quickly for now, and you'll get a sense of how the thing works. So I'll read out a couple of them. Firstly, did you know that cash released from your home is tax-free? And so people can click whatever the answer is. So we're testing their knowledge of the equity release market. And I'm just going to go through here, and you can see the questions. Do you know about the no negative equity release guarantee feature? And you can see these questions aren't too hard. People literally, it's yes or no answers, and they choose whatever is appropriate to them. Did you know that the funds can be used for a wide variety of purposes? People click the answer. Portability, and you can see how simple these are. Nothing too much for them to think about. click their way through them. If you want to, you can add in some extra questions of your own, or you can take questions out, whatever suits you. Have you considered downsizing as a potential solution to releasing equity? Yes, I'm considering. Have you made a will? Behind the scenes, the software is totting up the answers. So some of the answers are correct, in which case they would get a certain score. And depending on how they answer it, here we get to the last few questions. The software will analyse how they answer the questions. Is your home built of standard construction? Yes. Is the property an area liable to flood risk? Is it in good condition? Finally, a question about the value or the estimated value of their home, and then that's it. Are you ready for your results? So we click yes please, thank you very much. The software does its thing, and they now reach that third and final page, the results page. So they get a pretty graph here which shows their score, and you can see already it's customized with their name. If they at the beginning they were a little bit nervous, maybe they put in a fake email address, they've now got to this results page and they realize, oh, actually this looks quite legit, it looks pretty professional, and they can change to their correct email address once they've reached this point. And this text here is just making generic observations based on how they answered the questions. It's not giving financial advice, it's just making generic observations on how people scored. And then there's another graph to show their relative strengths and weaknesses around their knowledge and whether or not they are likely to qualify. And then some observations based on those three things as well. Again, this isn't financial advice, it's just generic observations, but it's all created based on how they answer the question. So everybody gets a different results page. Then you can add in some testimonials from existing clients if you'd like to do that. And finally, you've got an area here where you can, it's a bit of a call to action. A little bit about yourself, a little about your own business, picture of yourself, maybe your team, or if you want to, you can have a video on here, which is quite a nice thing to do. And finally, you can encourage them to pick the phone up or send you an email, or if you use a calendar scheduling tool, they can do that. Can do that straight away. It's entirely up to you. But that's broadly how it works. At the end of the day, it's a quiz with personalised answers. But somebody going through that who's thinking about taking out an equity release mortgage, or indeed they haven't got that far, they just want to talk to a professional like you, this will impress them right from the very start. They've got value from you before they've even met you, which is absolutely fantastic. And just to show you very, very quickly, finally, behind the scenes, you get a dashboard and it shows you the leads that have come in, and you can see the one that I just did just right there. You can see the date that I did it, you can see how long it took to do it, and you can see their overall score. And I can click on this particular one. I'm being the financial advisor now, and I can see how the individual scored. If I want, I can click on this button here and it'll take me to what they saw as well. But here's the best part of all. Remember I said it's really important to personalize how you follow these things up. I can now click on here and it shows me every answer to every question. I can see how long each person took to answer each question, and this enables me to do exactly what Mick did back in 1988. He can either pick up the phone or send an email, but he'll get in touch with the person and say, hey, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, thanks for taking our equity release quiz. I noticed you scored quite well in terms of your knowledge on equity release, but I also noticed a few other things where there's a few gaps there. Would you like some help with that? And this is how it works. I think it's a really, really powerful tool. And if we're thinking about how we want to kind of up our marketing game in 2023 and beyond, respond to market conditions, adapt, think more carefully, get much more focused, to me, this is just an absolutely wonderful tool that you can use. So there we have it. If you like any more information, please do get in touch with me. There's some details on the screen, and I'll be more than happy to talk you through how an equity release quiz could work for you and your business. Thanks a lot.